Hi guys, Cinematic Recapped here. Before we start, warning. Spoilers ahead. Today, I'm gonna explain an American science fiction and drama movie, called Moonshot. In the year 2049, a college student named Walt dreams of going to Mars. His dream becomes attainable with the introduction of the Covey Industries Student Mars Program, a program created by a businessman named Leon Covey to send college students to Mars. Walt has fought really hard to submit his best video application, but so far, he has been rejected 36 times due to his lack of knowledge and skills for further exploration of Mars. To fill his spare time, he works as a barista on a cafe. During his work, he is assisted by a coffee-making robot named Gary. At night, Walt attends a college party where he meets a no-nonsense student named Sophie. However, Walt accidentally breaks her Wi-Fi orb after learning that her boyfriend Calvin is on Mars. Calvin lives with his mother Jan, and they are working on a project. Afterwards, Walt walks outside and meets another student named Ginny, who is sent to Mars the next morning. From their conversation, it is revealed that Walt has changed his majors 16 times. The two continue their conversation until the next day, discussing the beauty of Mars and its exploration. They both end up falling in love. As the two kiss, Ginny's cell phone suddenly beeps, signaling that she has to leave immediately. Later, Ginny sends several messages to Walt just after the space shuttle takes off. 1 month later, Walt asks the staff at Covey Industries to review his recent application. He desperately wants to go to Mars because Ginny has slowly stopped responding to his messages. Unfortunately, the program rejected his application for the 37th time. While working at the cafe, Walt spots Sophie sitting alone in tears because Calvin has accepted a longer stay on Mars. Seeing an opportunity to make amends, Walt brings her a cup of coffee and consoles her. After sharing their stories, Walt tells Sophie that they can get on the space shuttle through the air ducts so they can meet their respective partners on Mars. They have to sneak in because the ticket costs $1 million. Surprisingly, Sophie rejects his idea, saying that she actually has the money to buy a ticket for herself, but she does not want to because of her aerophobia. After Walt tries to convince her many times, Sophie ends up buying a ticket to travel on the next space shuttle launch. Walt then receives a video message from Ginny showing his cat on Mars. It turns out that his cat snuck into one of the escape pods back on Earth. Knowing this, he gets an idea and says goodbye to Gary before rushing to Covey Industries International Spaceport. Once there, he approaches Sophie and begs her to let him walk her to the launch gate. Sophie refuses his request at first, but eventually lets Walt to accompany her by pretending to be a family member. The two get on the elevator, and Sophie dances to overcome her nervousness. Walt gives Sophie a gift before she enters the launch gate. As the staff closes the launch gate, Walt sneaks into the rear of the space shuttle and makes it into an escape pod. On the other hand, Sophie opens the gift and finds a cute Earth doll, but she squeezes it because she is nervous. The trip to Mars will take 35 days. At one time, Sophie hears a noise in the hallway and decides to check it. She ends up meeting Walt, but she is mad at him for manipulating her to help him sneak onto the space shuttle. To hide Walt's presence, Sophie takes him to her room and orders him to stay there. Suddenly, the captain of the space shuttle named Tartar comes to Sophie's room. Luckily, Tartar does not suspect Walt when he claims to be Calvin. After giving Walt a jumpsuit, Sophie takes him to Earl, a staff member who can print an ID for him. However, Earl cannot print the ID because his computer is broken. Fortunately, Sophie manages to fix it, so Earl prints an ID with Calvin's name for Walt. The two spend time together during the trip to Mars. Sophie asks Walt to learn more about Calvin as he claims his identity. They do some routines every day while keeping Walt low profile to others. On day 22, Sophie catches Walt using her room to contact Ginny. She angrily tells him that his action could be dangerous for his disguise. After arguing, Walt goes to Earl's room and gets some ice cream to relive his stress because he has been locked up in the room all this time. Because of that, he invites Sophie to have a moment together while eating ice cream. Afterwards, they attend a meeting, where Walt is forced to give a presentation about terraforming. He is initially surprised because he knows nothing about the topic. Instead, he gives a speech about love, which inadvertently convinces two audiences to get married. Not only that, his speech also moves Sophie, who thinks that Calvin might have been putting her second behind his dreams of terraforming Mars to become more hospitable. After that, Tartar holds a dance party for the passengers. This time, Walt is amazed to see Sophie wearing a dress of her own making. He then gives her a cupcake because next week it will be her birthday. Sophie tells him that her parents died when she was 14, so she was raised by Jan, who gave her a place to live. Walt then invites her to dance until she is drunk. To celebrate Sophie's early birthday, the two take the spacewalk for the first time and get a closer look at Mars. When they return to the space shuttle, the hull of the space shuttle is suddenly breached by an unidentified piece of debris. Due to this emergency situation, Tartar informs the passengers that they will take a freight shuttle to the surface. However, the captain's decision could threaten Walt's identity from being known because the staff will check his ID once they land on Mars. Because of this, Sophie asks Walt to hide in the air ducts. She then guides him to the storage room, where Walt sets up a tent to stay for the rest of the trip. Sophie sets up a projector to show the view of the outer space, and both of them grow closer. The following morning, Sophie receives a call from Calvin, who worries her about the collision. He then shows her room which Calvin prepared for her after she lands on Mars. At that moment, Sophie remembers all of Calvin's kindness. Therefore, she comes back to the storage room and tells Walt that she cannot help him anymore because it will risk her life. Before leaving, Sophie returns his Earth doll and says that she is going to stay with Calvin, causing Walt to call her a coward. After the space shuttle lands on Mars, Sophie and Calvin are happily reunited while the security arrests Walt. Calvin takes Sophie to her room, where she meets Calvin's family. While waiting for his trial, Ginny suddenly comes to see Walt and returns his cat. She also introduces her new boyfriend due to their one-night romance. In the meantime, Sophie is having dinner with Calvin's family. Calvin says that he has added Sophie to his research team. However, Sophie does not seem happy about it because Calvin's team will be working on a project for the next 12 years, which means that Calvin will be staying on Mars longer. The following day, Walt sneaks out of his room and ends up meeting Leon Covey. He tells Walt that his company knew about everything he was doing through security cameras on the space shuttle and let it slide as a security test. The program's board of trustees also plan to sue Walt once he returns to Earth. However, Leon does not like the program's board of trustees, so he had leaked the security footage back on Earth, which unexpectedly went viral. Seeing an opportunity to grow his company, Leon offers Walt a contract to avoid any legal problems and stay on Mars if he promotes Covey Industries. Hearing this, Walt happily agrees. The next few days, Sophie is busy with her thesis while Calvin is busy with work. On the other hand, Walt and Leon are busy promoting Covey Industries. While playing with Calvin's family, Sophie seems uncomfortable, and Jan notices it. That night, Calvin discusses with Sophie when she can start his work because she has been busy with her thesis. He also asks her to leave her thesis, saying it was her past, but according to Sophie it is her future. Sometime later, a party is held on Mars, with Walt still working as a barista. Calvin and Sophie also attend the party, but Calvin chooses to meet his team. A lonely Sophie is approached by Walt, who apologizes to her. Walt also gives another gift, which contains the Earth doll and a list of what Sophie wants to do when she gets to Mars. Sophie reads her own writing that Calvin should follow her back to Earth. Jan suddenly approaches her and says that she will still be part of Jan's family, no matter what happens between her and Calvin. Realizing that she has grown apart from Calvin and his goals, Sophie decides to break up with him. Meanwhile, Leon offers Walt to live on Ceres, a tiny dwarf planet in the main asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. He says that Walt would be the first person to ever set foot on the planet. Hearing this, Walt happily accepts his offer. Leon also tells Walt that he should contact anyone who is important to him because he would not see them for a few years. Walt quickly orders his robot to call Sophie, but the robot says that she is no longer registered as a resident. Apparently, she has boarded the space shuttle to return to Earth. Hence, Walt also boards the same space shuttle and finally reunites with Sophie. Walt expresses his feelings to Sophie that his adventure on Mars has been accomplished. From now on, he wants to continue his next adventure with Sophie. The movie ends with the two sharing a kiss. Subscribe to watch more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.